in other fields too. Studies prove that men have approximately 6.5 times more gray matter in their brain than women, and women have about 10 times more white matter than men do. Gray matter is directly linked to our spinal cord, which enhances brain to muscle coordination, while white matter helps us memorizing and storing muscle information in our brain. This is exactly why we see a good amount of female representation in the field of medical science, textile industry, and agriculture as victims of the fact which position mentioned. And these are fields which requires a lot of patience. The feminist movement taught us, I mean, they taught the women to see themselves as victims of oppressive patriarchy. But in the modern day society, that self-imposed victimhood is not a recipe for happiness. We must stop putting one sex or the other on a pedestal and realize that both sides have things to offer as well as areas where they are flawed. And I think I present my rebuttal in a very nice way. And as the famous journalist David Alexander Bernhardt rightly said, life is not a competition between men and women, it's a collaboration. And for all these reasons, the motion must fall. Thank you everyone for bearing me. Signing off, this is Vaibhav Shaw. Have a nice day.
Okay. Is there any other speaker? No. If you look at the time, I had said that each group will be taking around 5 to 7 minutes. But I guess this is not the case with this group. We began at around 2:37 and it's 53 right now.
Ma'am, our presentation was within time limits, ma'am. 5 minutes and 3 seconds.
Who is this?
Ma'am, Nilargya.
Bhargya? But you did not
Ye-
speak right now.
Yes.
Ma'am,
I'm talking about the group that presented present.
ma'am,
Yes,
Nilargu
ma'am.
is in my group. She spoke.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am,
We'll
here's
see with
one
the
thing I
time
would like to
limit.
contradict that Vaibhav said.
Yes.
Ma'am, he said about reservation in local buses. Ma'am, he may not know women suffer from menstrual cramps, which, according to study, can be as bad as having a heart attack or cutting your finger off without anesthesia. And many women suffer from it daily, like regularly every month. And women are also prone to harassment in public crowded places. That's why reservation of seats are provided in local trains and buses so that they can travel comfortably. And when we are talking about reservation in engineering colleges and technology, then we must not forget that in the first place, uh, women are not encouraged to take up science and technology in the first place, and they have to break certain barriers to reach there. So providing them that opportunity so that one day there will be equality in that field also is very essential. And now, most importantly, reservation is not even relevant to division of labor, which was our main topic.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I
Ma'am.
counter that?
Okay, but
Hello, ma'am.
just a few minutes. Yes.
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
I have one
ठीक है बोल.
question. Now, I have one question that I would like to ask to the our opponent. So he talked about putting a sex on a pedestal. So I just want to ask that what do they think about the child marriages that happens in India? According to a data, it says that approximately 1.5 million women, girls actually below age of 18 are married every year. So what our opponents think about this?
Anyone from the opponent group who would like to counter this?
Ma'am, I would
I
like
would
to
like to
answer the
counter
first question,
Gulshan.
ma'am.
So
If
let
two
Shuddho
people
counter
speak
Anil
together,
Deep.
nothing will be understood,
Ma'am,
right?
I'll be answering the first question and Vaibhav will be answering the second question.
Okay.
Ma'am, so my opponent said how women are not encouraged to take up science-based education and technological-based education, right? That is like the most anti-feminist thing she can say. It is their choice. Everybody has the choice to take up whatever field they want. And if they don't want to take up a certain field, that is not our fault. That's not the fault of the system. That is their fault. And we are giving them a reservation above that So it really is a very stupid counter.
Ma'am, I would like to
No, I
clarify
don't
one
think
thing.
it's not.
uh, so what Anandita said is being misinterpreted. What she said is from a woman's journey from a high school to a technical education faces a lot many hurdles than a man's faces. She did not say about choice, which is also a idea that everyone should have her or his own choice. But all she told is about the hurdles, and this is because of the
Name
society
us a
which
few hurdles.
puts a,
Name us a few
What
hurdles.
what what kind
yeah,
of
I'm
hurdles
giving
are
you.
you
I'm
One
talking
saying.
about,
I'm
minute,
Gulshan?
saying you the hurdle.
1 minute,
I am.
guys. This is not like a fight that is going on. If someone is talking, I want the others to respect that, and you have to wait till the other person completes their speech. You cannot just barge in between.
Okay, so I'm telling you what are the hurdles. So first hurdle is the perception, the prejudice that exists in the society. That is, women are mostly meant for household works, and she has to. Even I have seen women who are studying and at the same time doing the household chores, and I think this is very evident. We see this very often, and men doesn't do it. So this is one of the hurdles. The second hurdle is about where she like how she goes out. So there are a lot of boundaries on that. Like they had to have a timing of at what times he has to come out, and this is the second hurdle. And the third hurdle is also about uh, it's also about the child marriages and all these practices that prevails, which puts a woman as a just as a tool to procreation.
Okay.
Can I answer that?
No, should let others speak about it.
Can I
Anyone
just,
else
Gulshan,
can I just
Gulshan,
answer this?
I would
Can
like
I?
to
Ma'am,
ask you
can I?
that even I
is
sometimes wash
this?
my own dishes. Even I sometimes wash my own clothes. So it is not about doing that. Only women are doing their household chores, and we are also involved in our household chores. And it is not a feministic thing. Okay.
Yes,
We are
he's right,
not
but
talking about a particular household here. We are talking
he's
about
talking
what
about the
happens in
majority of
India in
things.
general.
He's talking about the
Can I just
majority.
add a statement,
Ma'am,
against?
can I just speak against like,
Who's this one?
ma'am, Arnik?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, I'll have to like counter the point that was like given by Anindita and Gulshan. If you see highly developed countries like Australia, Norway, Sweden, even Canada, where human development index is very very high and gender inequality is very very less, you can see that women participate. There is like an ample amount of women participation in fields like medical science, biology, which are also technical fields. Okay, but you won't find equal representation in fields like engineering, computer science, electrical engineering. So I think that point that women are not encouraged isn't really a barrier, but it is actually their choice.
Okay, so can I answer to
Yes.
that?
Who's this?
I'm Gulshan.
Yes, Gulshan.
So I don't think in our point we're mentioning only about the technical education is not only about engineering. I think, right? It's not about only software engineering. And I know all of these points have been given that women are very much contributing in software engineering. Okay, so I don't think that's a good data, because if you see globally, if you take an average of all these technical sectors, you would find that women's are not on the higher positions.
Okay, it's been half an hour. We cannot continue with this because if you keep continuing with this, this will actually never end. So you all can have your viewpoints, and it's really good to see your more voices about these topics. So I guess I'll move on to the next group now. Group one, can you all please present now? And the way
Yes,
things
ma'am.
are, I guess, will you be able to complete in like 10 minutes?
Yes, ma'am, we will.
In case we're not able to complete all the four groups, then we'll have to continue it in the next class. So yes, group one, go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Can I start?
Yes.
Hello, ma'am, and hello, everyone. A very warm good afternoon to one and all present in the meet. I am Shahbaz Parvez from Group 1. Our group has 6 members, namely Shubleen Singh, Soumik Chaudhary, Saurabh Sen, Rashid Asgar, Sagar Chaudhary, and myself. Our topic for today is sexual politics in science.
and we are speaking for the motion. We would be emphasizing on giving some evidences and points and prove the intense nature of the sexual politics that existed in the field of science. Shublin and Shomik will be speaking on behalf of our group. So, guys, can you please proceed?
Okay, another thing that I wanted to say with the previous group was that you all have mentioned that studies say, but what are these studies? You have to specify those studies. You have to like specify your source from wherever you are gathering your data. Okay, so when you all are doing this, just keep in mind that you have to specify the source from where you are gathering the information, and not just generalize into studies. Studies can be various studies, and different studies are not even valid in the present time. Okay, so you have to authenticate your data by backing it up with the source of the data. Okay. Yes, continue.
May I proceed?
Yes.
I'm Soumya Chaudhary. I'm putting my views on the topic sexual politics of science. The term sexual politics, as defined by Kate Millett, is a cause of contestation of power, structured relationships with respect to gender and sexuality, and in relation to the social system of patriarchy. Social politics thus politicize sociology in its approach to such inequalities, particularly in personal and private life. There have been structural barriers to women's participation due to their former socialization and education, which deliberately sidetracted them from studying science. The notion of equal opportunity demands women to have masculine identity without degendering the male counterparts. For a professional scientist, one demands long period of intensive study and research, which demands women to sideline the domestic responsibilities, which simply violates the prevailing cultural stereotypes beliefs. These beliefs presumes only male to be appropriate for scientific activities. Thus, these retards female to develop skills necessary for scientific success. The same stereotypical notion presumes women to be incapable of carrying out scientific works, segregating them based on their biology, and hence compartmentalizing male as superior and apt for scientific work. As per present day UNESCO reports, despite a shortage of skills in most of the technological fields, as we are diving in the fourth industrial revolution, women still account for only 28% of the engineering graduates. It also highlights the fact that women are not benefiting from the employment opportunities. Likewise, women founders of startups still struggle to find finance, and in large companies, they remain underrepresented in both technical and leadership positions. Moreover, women are still seen as an object of procreation. Thus, in many parts of the world, majorly they are subjected to marriage at an early age. As per the UN report, 13 million child marriages will be evidented over the next decade all over the world. Thus, women are seen as a passive object of active male agency, which is a crucial reason in explaining their minute participation in science. Um, I've completed my part, and I would like to uh, Subin to take over.
Hey all, I'm Shubham Singh and I would like to support Shomik by giving some references. During the First World War, the participation of women in medical science saw a boost, but at the time also women were facing prejudice and other barriers on account of their sex. Biochemist Kathleen Cullen Lethbury was one female scientist who has expressed about these barriers. Lethbury worked at the British Drug House. At a post, she oversaw insulin manufacturing. But because the drug maker's dining room was male only, she was excluded from the social interactions that happened when dining with colleagues. In notes for a talk that she gave on women in the chemical industry, Ludbury said that the male graduate is usually given quite a dignified position from the beginning. The girl who worked side by side with him at the university is hard up and constantly humiliated. Even if the work, Even if her work is intellectually satisfying, she will be expected to attain results from the ground floor, which her male equivalent was given with the help of a little altitude. The sexual politics was so intense that she signed her job applications in a way that masks her gender. and work for no pay. This gave the conclusion that for women in the chemical industry, magnificent health and thick skin was more important than the knowledge of chemistry. This sexual politics also finds its root at the family level, where women were forced to be limited by the expectation that they would resign from the work once they were married. Such resignation was a formal requirement with limited exceptions. So women who had to enjoy lengthy careers at the government research organizations had to remain single. This triggered the thought that there is no future in science for feminine. One such example is of Newnham graduate Muriel Barker, who joined the UK government's Royal Aircraft Establishment in Farnborough in 1980. But she married colleague Herman Glaut in 1922 and had to leave her post. With this, I would like to conclude my points. Thanks for hearing me out.
Are you all done with the? Which one is the next group? People speaking
Ma'am,
confidently
we
to.
would like to say against this topic.
Yes.
So, ma'am, let me start. Good afternoon,
Yeah.
respected ma'am and my fellow mates present over here. I am Somajit Acharya, feeling myself fortunate to represent my team and illustrate against the topic sexual politics in science. First of all, I would like to say that there can be no denial that women have been highly underrepresented in the field of science, or rather, in the field of education in general. But if we look into the skewed numbers, the reason is not the gendered bias of the politics. Rather, disproportionate numbers of men and women in the field of science due to long-standing societal barriers, practices, and gender differences in interest. Sexual politics have been prevalent in many other sectors. There can be no denial to that, be it breast tax, practice of sati, or teen talaq, irrespective of religion or geographical location. Long-standing politics of rulers and religious preachers have been coming in the way of women's rights. As the society progressed over the generations, policymakers even made positive efforts to remove this underrepresentation. Over the years, the scenario has changed, and now we get to see a more or less 1:1 gender ratio in most medical institutions and many science departments. Streams related to biology and chemistry have a better, or say similar, but not less, female representation compared to males. But in courses like physics and engineering, this wide gaps in gender ratio are noticeable, as wide as 1 is to 13, just like in our classroom, in spite of government providing reservations and scholarship for female tech enthusiasts. I feel the natural inclination have led to skewed numbers in many fields where political decisions or say indecisions have nothing to do with. Let's take up a case study of the Curie family to demonstrate this. Madame Marie Curie, the 19th century lady who was both a physicist as well as a chemist at the same time, broke all social cycles and went on to become the first female Nobel laureate. Not one, but two Nobels for two different subjects. But her younger daughter, Eve Curie, unlike her mother, Madame Curie, her father, Paddy Curie, or even like her elder sister, Irene Curie, she persuaded philosophy and chose her career as a successful journalist and pianist. By this, we can conclude that in spite of growing up in a science-oriented atmosphere, personal enthusiasm and inclination may have got a leading edge in career choices over the times. The question arises, as imposed by the feminists, whether the scientific institutions are anti-woman and masculine in nature. But here I would like to focus on the fact that science is not just confined to physics and engineering. In fact, the much needed and the most vigorous weapon against the current pandemic, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which we know by the name of Covishield, is designed by a woman. Yes, I am talking about Professor Sarah Gilbert of Oxford University. Another critical point that I want to take up is that the very topic of our discussion is somewhat adherent of another social stigma, especially in our brown society, the hoax of superiority of science over other streams like art and interdisciplinary studies. All streams are equally important and should be equally prestigious in our society. Even if we accept that women psychology is more inclined towards arts, then also there is nothing wrong in that. Just because some particular branches in science are witnessing gender inequality, unlike other science branches or the art stream, it's not relevant to say that science as a subject is masculine. Thank you. I would like Pallav to continue on this point.
Ma'am, can I
Pallav?
start? Yes, ma'am, can I start?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, respected ma'am and my fellow mates. I, Pallav Mondo, is going to speak against the topic sexual politics and in science. As my friend Shomojit rightly pointed out that poor representation of women in the field of science and technology is more because of social barriers, medieval practices, and personal limitations. Politics has few to no role in it. Moreover, sexual politics is present in many other sectors and there can be no denial to that. And as the society has progressed, several policy decisions have been taken to remove underrepresentation of women in this field. In post-independence India, several scholarship schemes have also been rolled out to negate the gender-based differences in the field of science, and the women representation have increased significantly. In India, there are as many as 40% female graduates in the field of science and technology. In fact, this figure is even higher in the other nations of the world. For example, in Georgia, it is over 56%. In addition, a major field of science, women representation have been good enough, with Kerala topping the list within the country with more than 50% representation of women, whereas studies in UK has shown a historical high of 61%. Now, if women had faced gender discrimination in all these fields, their representation wouldn't have gone that high. Now, as related to sexual harassment in workplace, Vishaka guidelines as a political move have benefited women by providing them a safe environment to work in. Now, all these studies clearly show that women representation in the field of science and technology is improving and might take over the representation of men in future. And thus, the tagging of scientific institutions as masculine and anti-women is by feminists itself disregarding science. As I have already pointed out and would like to repeat again, sexual divide, be it in science or any other field, is more because of social traditions and natural choices. Politics has no role in it. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. So the ones who are going to counter this approach, please begin. I think we'll be able to complete these two groups only today. On tomorrow, I have some work and I will not be able to take the class at 12. So we'll have
Ma'am,
the
are you
class on
free from
Friday.
3:30? Are you free from 3:30 today?
Today I have, but are you all free? Like we can continue.
Yes, ma'am. We don't have any classes from 3:30 p.m. So you can continue this.
But that's your opinion. What about the others? Do you all want to continue today only, or
Yes, ma'am, you
like
can
we can
continue,
continue
ma'am.
this
Yes,
on
ma'am.
Friday?
It would be,
Better if we get it over with
ma'am,
now.
it would be better to continue right now.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that then. But in any way, tomorrow I will not be taking the class. I'll take the next class on Friday at 2:30. Okay, and we'll begin with the last topic, that is post-industrial society. Okay, we'll be continuing with this class for another hour, but that doesn't mean that people who have completed their speech will leave the meeting. Whoever has joined, you all have to be there till the end of the class, because I'll be taking the attendance at the end of the class only. Okay? Yes, we can continue from here.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
I would like to counter.
Yes.
As my friend Pallab said, the data there, it's very specific to a region. It does not uh, average out the entire world, which is far less than what a specific region has. Does that fully supports that there is no sexual politics?
Yes, sir. As Shomik said that like with the data what I presented is more of a region based, but it is actually not like that. In India only, the representation of women in science and technology fields in the women graduates are about 40%. And like I said, in Georgia, it's about 56%. In other countries also, the representation is quite high, around 40%. Like in US, it is 48%. And moreover, steps are being taken to improve like their representation. It's not like that nothing is being done for them. Steps are being taken, scholarships are being given, reservations are there to improve their representation.
Ma'am, I would like to add a point that, ma'am, our social structure is dynamic and is changing each and every day. Uh, what my friend Pallab talked about is just a trend that has started, that social change has been initiated, and many states and many countries are showing that positive change. So the rest of the part of the world where they say that politics is prevalent, I would like to say that in the coming years, this social differences should be overcome, and this increasing graph will continue to go on increasing. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone who wants to add to their statements, to their opinions, or wants to say something with regard to what they have said?
Actually, I'm Guruk Shah, and actually the opposition defined that politics is contestation for power, but basically it is not. Politics is policy making. So the very definition of sexual politics they presented is wrong. Actually, in politics there is much fight for power, and so people stereotype the field as contestation of power is politics, but politics is policy making. So in over the years, policy making have helped to stop the gender division and all, and just contestation for power cannot be termed as politics.
Avirup, I think you have misinterpreted the topic. We are speaking in, I mean, we are speaking for the field of science, not for the politics.
The topic is sexual politics in science. So, is there politics based on sex? So that is the topic, isn't it? In the field of science, obviously. But what is politics at first?
We can leave this to your interpretation. Next group. Can we have the speakers of the next group?
Yes, ma'am. And we will be speaking on topic 2, scientific knowledge as patriarchal knowledge. Can I
And
start?
yes, 1 minute. So when y'all are countering, do not it's not like y'all are like, ma'am, this person said like this, but it's not like that. When you're countering, you are trying to counter the opinion of the other person, so you can directly refer to that person, okay, or maybe to that group, not even to that person, but that group, because that is a perspective that is coming from that group as a whole. Okay, so these are certain points that you'll have to keep in mind while you're presenting. Okay. Yes, Joydeep, you can start.
The notion that science is a universal, value free system for producing knowledge and acting as a liberating force for humanity is critiqued as a system that excluded women from that emancipatory project. Modern science is portrayed as a consciously gendered patriarchal activity and project grounded on the subjugation of women and nature. What such thinking highlights is how patriarchal relations can be conceptualized as differently interwoven into social systems and structures depending on specific historical and cultural eras. Now, the question that first arises to our mind is, are these notions correct? Is scientific knowledge completely patriarchal? Well, me and Abhirup, on behalf of our group, would be taking this opportunity to present the actual scenario in front of everyone. First of all, agreeing completely on this patriarchal knowledge idea would be too foolish of ourselves. Many scientific sectors of the world were and are being operated by women. Let us, for example, take the name of this in the health sector. Are all doctors and staff male?
Well, no, they aren't. One of the biggest breakthroughs in cancer treatment was the development of chemotherapy, which was in the year 19.
Are you able to hear him?
Ma'am, I think his mic stopped working.
No, ma'am.
Just check and ask him to rejoin me. Or someone from their group can continue from where he has left. No one is going to continue from where he has left. Who are the other participants of that group?
Ma'am, can I start?
Yes.
Ma'am, Parvez will be continuing for us.
Hello? Acha, I got
Ma'am,
disconnected.
yes, you got disconnected.
Acha, sure. Okay. Parvez. Acha, would I speak or
No,
Parvez?
you can continue.
Acha. Can you tell me where I stopped?
You were answering my question when I asked that are all doctors and
Acha,
staff
acha.
male in the health sector?
Acha. Okay, there is a voice glitch, na? Okay, wait. No, they aren't. One of the biggest breakthroughs in cancer treatment was the development of chemotherapy in the 1940s. Do you know the name of the person behind it? Well, without wasting your time, I would like to know, tell you the name of the person. The person is a female, and as you all know, her name is Dr. Jean Wright. More specifically, she created with inventing a groundbreaking technique that involved using human tissue culture rather than laboratory mice to test the effects of potential drugs on cancer cells. Thus, she played a major role in elevating chemotherapy from last resort treatment for cancer to treatment that has the best shot of containing the disease. She also pioneered the use of methotrexate to treat skin cancer and breast cancer. Now I have a simple question for you all. Does your mother still bring up the question that the doctor gave you a 7 plus or 10 score at birth? Do you know what the score is for?
Well, you can thank Dr. Virginia Apgar for that, as her invention inadvertently made her one of the most famous women in medicine. In 1953, she established the Apgar score, which was the first standardized tool to evaluate newborns, and it became the gold standard to evaluate the health of millions of babies since then. In 1995, she was officially inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame as a well deserved recognition for her status as one of the most influential women in the record books of history. There are many more examples of great female doctors. So, as we can see, that clearly women had done award winning works in the field of medical science. But the health sector isn't our only priority. What about research and development? Is there any woman who contributed towards scientific research work?
Well, obviously there are. Maria Geoport Mayer won the Nobel Prize in 1963 for her famous contribution to modern physics by discovering the nuclear shell of atomic nucleus. Sarah Sager had discovered 715 planets in her time working with the Kepler Space Telescope. She was a remarkable contributor to the modern understanding of space. Vera Rubin proved that dark matter existed in the universe by concluding that invisible gravity sources were pulling planets and stars in certain directions.
Now, we aren't here to discuss the achievements and contributions of women in science. What I actually wanted to highlight is that regardless of the societal concept of women being confined to the private sphere of hearth and home, women had stepped up and contributed in every sphere of life, be it in ensuring the continuity of life, the technological advancements, or being a homemaker. Well, maybe the contributions of women have been far less than men in science, but there's no denying that when given an opportunity, women have shown that they are not too behind men in any aspect of life. Feminism isn't about the discrimination on the basis of gender or gender inequality. It's about getting equal rights, opportunities for both men and women. Helen Keller once said, "Alone, we do so little. Together, we can do much." So rather than debating on this topic of feminism and contradicting each other's opinions, in this modern era, we all should collectively unite and work together to turn many dreams into reality. Thank you.
Next speaker. Who's the next one?
We are done with our debate. And we would like anyone to counter us from the other
That is
group.
what I'm asking. Who's the next speaker? Who's going to counter?
Can I start?
Yeah.
My name is Shilpa Ponnal. Good evening, everyone. And
A bit loud. I can't hear you.
uh, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, Shilpa.
My name is Shilpa Ponnal, and I'm against the topic of scientific knowledge and experiential knowledge.
Okay, but you have to be a bit more loud because we are not able to hear you clearly. Are the others able to hear her clearly?
Hello.
Guys, are you all able to hear her clearly? Okay, Shilpa, continue.
Okay. Scientific knowledge and experiential knowledge, the whole idea comes from the cultural stereotypes which inextricably linked with science with masculinity, and is also explained the less number of women in science. Due to this cultural stereotyping towards the established members of the science field, any stereotypical scientist or an individual was thought to be a male, and females were generally considered unfit of such professions. Such negative stereotypes about women's quantitative abilities not only led people to devalue their work but also discouraged women from continuing in their science fields. However, students practicing feminist scientists have been able to question the historical and sociological relationship between science and gender, and along with the advancement in technology and its impact on women's lives, particularly on women's work, have reduced the gender gap to large extent, and as a result, today both of genders can acquire similar skills and competition in various spheres of science and technology. I think science is independent of gender and the knowledge, if not based on the gender identity of an inventor or discoverer or the person who is applying it. Even though the path of science in STEM has been and even now is difficult for a woman, but that does not hinder the path-breaking scientific discoveries to be put in the forefront. Born in Warsaw, Poland, Marie Curie paved the way of scientists to study radioactive decay and discovered the elements radium and polonium. Working as a physicist and a chemist, she conducted pioneering research on the radioactive decay and was the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize in Physics and become the first person who received a second Nobel Prize in Chemistry. 57 women have been awarded the Nobel Prize between 1991 and 2020. 20 women have been awarded to Nobel Prize in Physics, Chemistry, Philosophy, and Medicine. Sabine Anastomit was one of the leading scientists in the United States. In 1925, she had become the first woman selected to the U.S. National Academy of Science. But the underestimate the challenge facing women of scientists throughout history, intelligence alone has rarely been enough to guarantee women a role in the process of examination and explaining in the natural world. Natural world. In the early 21st century in the United Kingdom and the United States, nearly 50% of medical degree and doctorate degree in the biomedical science were awarded to women. Undergraduate numbers in mathematics and in the physical science were approaching similar level, and only of computing and engineering were women students still significantly understable. This massive statistical shift took place in the constant of general increase in the number of women entering higher education, a product of the wide-based movement toward gender equality and the companions of encourage girls to women to pursue their interest. Reaching the top tiers of scientists recognizing, however, remained difficult of women. But this challenge was not unique to science. Women in business and government face similar difficulties. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Anirban Noskor, and I going to speak about the in scientific knowledge. Going to speak in the motion of scientific knowledge as patriarchal knowledge. Patriarchy is a social and ideological construct which consider men as superior to women. Walby describes patriarchy as a social system in which men hold authority over women, children, and property. Patriarchy encourages male leadership, male dominations, and male power. It is a system in which women are subject to economic dependence, violence, domestications. It imposes structures that